Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Inside Out Smile. I'm your host, Dr. Amber Q, and I'm thrilled and delighted that you've joined me today. So thank you for tuning in. It is sweltering in London. We're at 32 Celsius and it's super hot. I have these sunflowers staring at me, and I have to admit that I do find them quite scary, if I'm honest. I know they're God's creation, but honestly, I just have these memories from the Day of the Triffids. I don't know if you've seen that movie. You need to see it if you've not seen it. And I think I may have mentioned before that they kind of scare me. Now, they were a gift, and it's so kind of the person that got them. But honestly, the other day, the vase actually fell over, and I think it fell over because the unequal distribution of weight, because the water had evaporated or been, used up by the flowers, and it fell, and it just kind of freaked me out a bit. And I'm just thinking, oh yeah, I don't know. They just seem so. I know flowers are from heaven, and I don't know. They just seem a bit scary, basically. But that's not what I wanted to discuss today. What I wanted to discuss was I had the pleasure of meeting this lady. And honestly, she reminded me of the female Indiana Jones. Because, not that she's an archaeologist, just she was telling me about all her travels. And the conversation all started off because she's going to Japan. And we were talking not about the weather, but we were talking about, I was just saying, I've never been to Japan. And she was telling me how much she loves Japan. And she's been there before, but she's going to different places this time. Although I think she'll go to one or two of the places that she's already been to in Japan. And we were just having a really good chat. She's not been to Hawaii, which is definitely on my list. And we were just talking about all the places that she's visited, including the Galapagos Islands. And we just had such a fun conversation. Honestly, it was just so exciting. I was asking her what her favourite place was in the world, out of all the places that she'd visited. And she did sort of say Japan and Africa. And she was telling me about her safaris. And it was just enthralling. And we were talking about animals and how elephants and other beings are having their existence threatened by humans. And just, all about the biodiversity, which is just shrinking constantly. And I think I actually mentioned that with reference to the Galapagos Islands, which is terrible. She said so many people were visiting that the biodiversity there had started to alter, and in a negative manner. So isn't that terrible? I can remember always kind of hearing about the Galapagos, try saying that quickly, islands when I was a youngster with David Attenborough, Sir David Attenborough. But it's terrible, isn't it, that humans are just destroying the planet? But it was such a fascinating conversation. Told me about Peru. She just told me all these things about her travels, and it was just fascinating. She was such an interesting lady, and I love that. And I honestly felt like, and she was quite stylish as well, so I honestly felt like I was speaking to not so much Lara Croft, but honestly like a female Indiana Jones, or that had nothing to do with archaeology and treasure, but just the treasure of nature. And that was just such a wonderful conversation. And I think that's the thing, right? When you have people that are really interesting, that are so well traveled. I think she was actually American as well. But it's just wonderful, isn't it? There's so many exciting people around, and I could have spoken to her for hours just about sort of the things she likes in different countries and sort of what she likes about Japan. I was asking about gadgets and what her favorite gadgets are, because obviously Japanese culture is just very sort of advanced, isn't it, in that way? It was just enthralling. And this is the thing, you come across people that during our everyday interactions that are just so scintillating. And it was just wonderful. I really enjoyed that conversation. And we're now following each other on Instagram. And yeah, it's just, I'm not going to drop her Instagram account here because it is a private account. So, but we just connected. It was just so wonderful. And I just think that it's wonderful when we reach out to others, because It just opens up a whole new world. I honestly felt when she was speaking, we were having those conversations and I was asking her questions about what's your favourite place? What did you do here? Have you seen the pink blossoms in Japan? She hasn't seen those as yet. But I actually felt, even though this wasn't a particularly long conversation, I actually felt as if I was being transported into her travels. And it just, when I was young, we used to have these sort of TV documentaries, well, not documentaries, but stories about sort of flying carpets and, there was one about a phoenix as well. Or maybe the phoenix and the flying carpet were related. Maybe it was called the Phoenix and Flying Carpet. Maybe that's from a book. I can't remember. Anyway, the point is that it was just amazing speaking with her. And it was just lovely. It was just lovely hearing about all her adventures. It was so exciting. And she was telling me about the best. And then I was asking her how she films things. It was just, honestly, it was one of the best days ever. Just this chance encounter with this amazing person. And and that's why I just think these interactions are so exciting and why we should all engage in them. And the research just shows that these chance encounters and these chance conversations are really good for our well-being and for the well-being of others. It was just a wonderful conversation. So I really, really enjoyed it. And I did feel as if, maybe it's because of her hat, I did feel as if I was speaking with a female Indiana Jones. So it was just so much fun. And I just want to share that with everyone, as well as the scary sunflowers that are just staring at me. I've got one in the kitchen and I had to throw away a few and I kind of replenished the water and the food. But even so, these 7 they're not looking particularly happy. And in a way, I'll be grateful when I say goodbye to them. I mean, I'm really grateful to have them. It's been an experience facing my fear, but just not that keen on them. Honestly. But anyway, I've, encountered sunflowers and interesting ladies. And it was just, my gosh, she's given me a traveling bug again, I think. I think I'm going to need to start traveling again. But anyway, I just really, really enjoyed that encounter. And I just want to share it with all of you. So have you had a chance encounter with anyone recently? Is there anyone interesting that you've spoken with? Because I think interesting people, they just keep us stimulated, don't they? And that's the thing. We know that small minds discuss other people, whereas great minds discuss ideas and experiences. I've done something with that idiom. I can't quite remember it, but I do know that small-minded people definitely discuss other people and gossip. And we're not into doing that, are we? No. So I hope that you have a joyful interaction with someone that you wouldn't normally speak with. And until the next episode, let's all feel extraordinary, create connection, and change lives.